Are you saying that you don't get that?
We don't.
Really?
We don't. We hardly get any media. You don't hear discussions, in terms of the mainstream discourse around this. Whenever there is talk about reparations, it's always about just slavery in the past. And so people today say, well, what's that got to do with us? What we're talking about is the impact of enslavement on us who are living today, who have been denied access to our true wealth, our land, we've denied even the right to practice our culture and our way of life.
Everything. Do you mean here or in your own countries?
Here.
Oh, you mean here?
Yeah.
You're free here.
Am I? Are we? No.
It's free.
It wasn't.
It's free.
It wasn't. It wasn't.
All the trauma of chattel slavery, dehumanization and brutality, all the confusion psychologically, and the robbing of our spiritual and cultural ID. It's on our ancestors' free labor the stock exchange came to be.
I am an African. Destined for greatness. I am from greatness. Hey! We are greatness.
They could rewrite themselves nice historically. We said we want some reparation. Yeah, no, we want some compensation.
Think about all of those who haven't made it here today, who are not alive, who died early, and we now who are benefiting from the ground that they plowed, feel that we don't have to do the same for those coming after us. Get back into your African mind, my people. Get back into your right mind. So, in closing, Sister Jendai mentioned a strategic goal that is an aspect of reparations under international law in terms of guarantees of non-repetition, and that must be our nation, our global Pan-African nation, that we, as in the traditions of all those generations that have gone before, refer to Ma'at Ubuntu Man, an African continent, including her diaspora, wherever we live. We don't have to physically live in Africa to belong to the Africa of the future. But this is about our birthright that wasn't only stolen from our ancestors, but it's being stolen from you. And they make us hate ourselves. So we don't even want to identify with our power. And then they shut us out. When our people are dying to cross the Mediterranean in search of their resources, they close their borders. And when we're ready to go, because the Caribbean islands are going to sink, if global warming increases, then they're going to close the borders to us in Africa. Because guess who's there? Them! Brothers and sisters, this is serious. Because if we don't have water, if we don't have good food, we die. And many of us are walking around zombies. We are the living dead. The living dead. And some of us refuse to die. And some of us will never die, even if you kill us. So they are not listening to us. And they're not going to listen. And we're going to have to occupy. Now the Europeans, who we taught, are now teaching us, because we've lost the courage to do what previous generations have done. They're occupying. And they're saying we're not leaving until you hear our demands. So we're going to occupy, and we can't allow them to rest, because unless we are prepared to give up something, we're never going to gain anything. So get some courage, my people. Thank you.
Come on, brothers and sisters, one more time.
Why are the signatories important?
The signatories are important because it's about showing that we have a constituency that is in support of the tactic of establishing an all-party parliamentary commission of inquiry for truth and reparatory justice. Reparations is something that we have to own as a people. We have to consent. So nobody's setting themselves up as a leader of anybody, but we are slowly but surely building constituencies who are saying this is what we want as the next phase of determining redress for our people and holistic repair or reparations.
And the numbers required to raise it again across the floor of Parliament?
So if we were to go for the formal 100,000 signatures, we don't have 100,000 signatures. The signatures that we have in total are 17,418. Not enough people are signing this petition. Not enough people are raising their voice to say that reparations is our cause. This is not something somebody is going to get up and do for us. Our people have to step up, and they have to realize nothing is going to be handed on a plate to them. In fact, what we are entitled to and what we are due is being squandered right before our very eyes. Do your duty.
Yes, yes, yes.
Very, very special duty that you have.
Is a stumbling block, the perception?
Yes, definitely. There is a perception that because we're not walking about in chains around our arms and our necks, that we are free. But what we have is called chattel freedom, which is we're free to act according to the parameters and dictates of our oppressors and so-called colonial masters. We're not free to be self-determining. We're not even free to call ourselves African. That's why they are imposing this term BAME on us. They recognize Asian in it, but you can't be an African. To be an African is to invite social and civil death. And that when they are taking us away from our heritage and our land mass, what they are doing is continuing to dispossess us of our inheritance. Because right now, there are many Caucasians who identify as being African because they want the land, they want the resources. And you have British companies that are looting the resources of Africa today that are being denied to our people. And yet we are forced into concrete jungles where now our children are imploding. And that's why we're seeing an exacerbation of intra-community serious violence and killing by gun and knife crime. And that is part of the reason why today our theme is Stop Terminating Our People. We hold the British state responsible for the killings that are happening in our community because our young people have been denied access to the true knowledge of who they are and what their entitlements are. And so what we are seeing is us beginning to turn out the effects of hundreds of years of oppression that have been internalized on ourselves. And this must stop if we are to have a future.
So with reparations, how will that formulate in regards to the freedom that was mentioned by that man again?
Well, freedom is something that you have to take. It's not something someone gives to you. And we as a people have to intensify our liberation struggle. Part of the perception is also internalized by our own people, who feel that because they can have a nice house, they might have what they see as a good job, they might be able to enjoy the lifestyle that Caucasians enjoy, that represents freedom. That's not the freedom that we're talking about. We're talking about the freedom to be who we are, the freedom to create with our own mind, our own creativity, the freedom to determine our systems of governance, the freedom to educate our children according to our heritage and culture, and to give them a true knowledge of everything that our people have contributed to human civilization. That's what we're talking about. And in every generation, each generation, out of relative obscurity, must discover its mission, fulfill it, or betray it. We have been passed on a baton. We have to continue that on for our children, because now the struggle is not just about a racial struggle. The struggle is for the very lifeline, lifeblood of our earth that sustains us. The pollution of the waters, the pollution of our food system. So even when we're physically alive, we're zombies. And that's what people call freedom. That's not freedom. What we are experiencing is genocide. It's not just cultural genocide, it is genocide as defined by the 1948 Genocide Convention. And to have genocide doesn't mean you exterminate physically a whole people. But when you remove a people from their way of life, from their land base, from everything that gives them power, and then you force them, you actually deny them knowledge of who they are. Okay, that is the genocide, when you actually impose on them conditions of life that are designed to bring about their destruction. That is genocide.
When we talk about self-governance, do you feel that we're actually pushing for it as a community as well? We have teachers, we have lecturers, we even have professors within the education system.
Teachers who have been taught
By them.
to teach what
They want. And that's the menticide. That's the killing of our group mind, our African mind. And many of us are operating out of a European mind, because that is what we've been socialized to believe is progress. Bell Hooks has this quote that to the enslaved, the slave master's way of life represents the ideal.
the ideal.
Okay? And that's what we're seeing. So our people don't even remember or know what it is that they've lost that needs to be restored and reclaimed, because they've been denied access to this knowledge. And when they do talk about what has happened to us, it puts many of our people off, because who wants to learn that they were enslaved when you don't give a context to that enslavement in the overall history of a people and their struggle to transform themselves, family and community.
You've obviously been on every march.
Yes.
And in a way you can almost map the movement as well. Within that moment you've had Windrush, within that moment you had Grenfell. You know, again, we could argue about the youth issues as well. So where would you say we are now in regards to the first march to today's march?
Where we are now is that we have a clear strategy and tactics around the how of effecting and securing reparatory justice. On the first march, we didn't have any specific aims. People were just marching around reparations. That might work in year one. In year 6, that's not going to work. You have to have concrete goals, strategies, milestones that you're working towards. And the challenge that I'm throwing back to our people is, whatever you believe reparations are, how are you going to bring it about? If you feel it's something someone has to give to you, how are you going to make them do it? The how. And what we have is a methodology of the how. An all-party parliamentary commission of inquiry for truth and reparatory justice.
Black people in the UK are standing up to recognize who the enemy is. Today, some of our African leaders have become our tormentors. You know, as African people on the continent, as an African, as a Ugandan. I cannot just go to Ivory Coast, to go to Senegal, to go to Mali. Do you know where I have to get my visa from? From the French embassy in Uganda, as an African going to another African country. So this is how we are. This is the state of us.
Is there a conversation about reparations in Uganda?
Just like I said, my brother, how can there be a conversation when even what you're conversing about, you don't know about it? You know, apart from the conversation being there, many people, they don't know, they wouldn't know what does reparation mean. Yeah, they know about slave trade. They know they call the black people in the West foreigners. You know, that is the rate we are. You know, so the conversation is not that.
Then also in school, what are you taught about your own history in relation to Africa in your education?
First and foremost, like in Uganda where I come from, my history, first and foremost, they demonized my history. We have a story of the first man in my kingdom, the first Muganda. They told me that he had a cow and he used to eat cow dung and milk. The first Muganda, he was called Chintu. But they said he used to eat cow dung. Excuse me, my brother, even today in 2019, if you walk in Kampala, you can get a mango on the tree. So my ancestor, who was there before all this pollution, before all this development, before all this, you mean he didn't have the brains to eat some fruit? And they say he ate cow dung? And even in that story, you see the inconsistencies of the story. They say he had one cow and it gave milk. So how can a cow have milk when it doesn't have a bull? When there is no other cow? So they demonize my history.
And that's within the school system?
Within the school system. Then they told me the first man to see the source of River Nile was John Speak. Now I come to London. In this place, I see statues of all these people who came and desecrated my kingdom. They deported my king Mutesa too, because he told them, you know what, you cannot give me independence, because the Buganda kingdom, I was independent already. They kidnapped my king and brought him here, and they killed him here.
So even for you,
you know,
reparations?
Yes, they killed my king, King Mutesa of Buganda was killed here, and they blamed it. That's how, read the book, The Desecration of My Kingdom. They told me that my religion was bad. That's why sometimes we have a problem with some of the brothers from the West when they bring the Bible to say, like in the Rasta movement, some of them do the Bible. Some of the Rasta in Uganda are like, no, we don't do the Bible, because they use the Bible to take my land and they shoot me.
Right.
And they told me I had everything. I had Katonda, it's called God. I know Katonda, I knew about creation. Then they told me all that is voodoo and witchcraft.
It is the conditioning, it is the programming that turns us against each other. It is the programming and the conditioning that gets us to work and operate and behave in service of white supremacy. It is that mode of thinking and action that is opposing our own interests as African people. It causes us to deprioritize ourselves. It causes us to hate ourselves. It causes us to work against ourselves. That is menticide. And ecocide relates to the environment of the mind, the environment of the community, the environment of the land, the environment of Mother Earth, all of which are being destroyed. And as the first people on the planet, we charge ecocide because we are the custodians of this earth.
How was it?
It felt felt unification within myself and within the people behind stuff like that. We are marching.
But what about the youngers, man? You know, your young bloods, your warriors in the place. Speak to them.
It's sad to see that there ain't a lot of youngers here today. At the same time, suppression, we condemn suppression. It's all within us as a people.
Why did you come and how was it?
No, I come to show respect to my ancestors and to let people know this is the Reparation March. We all need to be on this and sign a petition, so to show unity.
So next year, God wills?
Yeah, of course. I have to book it off. Book off. I mean, I can't keep slaving. I got to do this for my youths and the youths after them.
My name is Khadija, and this is my daughter, Princess Ayana, or Minta. Would you want to tell the people why we call you a Minta?
Because it's a part of the Egyptian princess.
The spirit of PPCA was absolutely different, and I think that has a lot to do with the music. It has a lot to do with leadership and the order of everything that went well today.
And you mentioned it's not your first year, so I mean, we don't really necessarily compare the numbers as much, but again, do you feel that, again, with the young princess here, ultimately the young ones will see you and see her and want to join?
Absolutely, and you're right about the number, because I said it to somebody today, so I stand corrected. I said to my godson today, it's not about the quantity, it's the quality, yeah? And it is important for our children to be out with us on this day, the 1st of August. Her dad is a part of the leadership Kwaku, so this is why the family is out. So we cannot be out and the children are elsewhere. So we all come out as a family. My son Pianki as well, he's up front up there as well.
Okay, well, before you say Prophet Kwaku, then we know. So yeah.
Prophet Kwaku, there you go. Absolutely.
It's a blessed love to be in your family. And could you ask the young one, Princess, how was the march for you today?
Okay, Mum, I call her Mum. Mum, how was the march for you today?
It was very good, and it was my first march of the year, so I was actually it was very, very good, and I liked how they got the chalk, and and then I knew some of the songs.
Okay. And what about the person who was doing a lot of the talking, dressed in white and sunglasses? What about that person? How do you think he did?
Well, my dad did very good, even though some of the songs I wanted to sing, he interrupted it.
It surprised me in the way that the music took over the drum. But the music so sweet that it's nice. It's like, I was going to say, this is not so nice, but it's an extra niceness. So I think more planning next year will be better, etc., etc., etc.
You happy with the selection?
I am very happy with the selection because, as you notice, there is none of them up to date kind of rubbish music I play. Some culture and Buju Bantan on the bridge. Destiny, mash up the place. Yeah, man.
Ultimately, do you feel that, yes, the music was strong, but do you feel the message came through strong?
Yeah, strong enough. I'm not saying there's room for it to be stronger and stronger still, but yeah, for me, on a whole, because the whole way I learn. So people will learn from this and take it further, my brother. See?
Yes,
yeah, man, a big love. Papa Wasi!
The famous Papa Wasi right there, sir.
Tendamwari, Mosiah lives, Garvey lives. Brother Olatunji Heru from the Al-Keblan Revivalist movement. I'm here, walking back from Parliament Square to Windrush Square on the Reparations March, day the 1st of Mosiah. Mosiah we now call, what used to be called August, Rastafari. So yes, we're here because Emancipation Day is also the 1st of Mosiah, commemorating the plight of our ancestors. And so since 2014, the community has been called out on this day, the 1st of Mosiah, to come and march for reparations, come to march in honor and to complete their mission, to complete their work for our total liberation and the glory and redemption of our motherland. So that's why we're here.
And how was it for you personally?
Personally, you know, it's good. I mean, we see it's a challenge to get our people out en masse, but still, for the people that came out today, we give thanks to march under the banner of reparations, so that's always good. We need to take it to the level where we're building those institutions and doing that work continually throughout the year. This should be a day where we showcase the work we've done from one year to the next. So John Henry Clark says, a people rise and fall within a framework of institutions, never rise any other way, never fall for any other reason. So we need those institutions. If we want to really stop our enemies from terminating our youth, which is a theme for this year, we need those institutions. Rites of Passage need to be a community-wide imperative. Everybody needs to be signed up to Rites of Passage. Everybody needs to sign up to our program of economic empowerment. Everybody needs to be signed up to our political empowerment. Everyone needs to be signed up to our social and cultural empowerment and spiritual empowerment. That's what we need to be doing. And those ones that are here, let us come together around the program of nation building. That's what we need, sisters and brothers. That's what we need. Tendam Wadi.
My ancestors had to go through a hard time, so I'm here to like represent them. I've got older brothers and oldest
You've got older brothers
yeah.
as well.
So it's a bit worrying when they go out because you never know that could be killed any day or something
So
like
as a
that.
young person, you're worried about your brother?
Yeah.
All right. And is that a worry, Daddy, that you felt you would ever have worrying about your young sons in this type of environment?
Yeah, man, definitely, man, because how they set the... Yeah, man, straight up Jamaican. Yeah, man, straight up. But here with the knife stabbing, with the kids them and them thing there, it worry me because me have son, a young man coming up. So it's worrying still, so you only have to counsel them and try to teach them and keep them on the straight path. More love.
Your family's beautiful. Lovely. Thank you.
And I pledge to marry only African, to love only African, and raise only Africans by any means necessary. John!
Yes, sir.
Yes. Someday, somehow, every 1st of August, and we call it the month of Mosiah. Skip, scam, Scooby-Doo, they select the next year.
Alright. All the trauma of chattel slavery, dehumanization and brutality, all the confusion psychologically, and the robbing of our spiritual and cultural ID. It's on our ancestors' free labor the stock exchange came to be. Build their vast infrastructure democracy. Yeah.